Kids are so cute. Kids, they're headed back to school, and for some students, however, going to school can be stressful and something to skip altogether because of bullying and possible conflict among their peers. Ashley Virtue is from the National Conflict Resolution Center, and she's joining us now. This is important stuff, Ashley. Good morning, first of all. We're talking about 5 ways to manage that conflict. It's inevitable, isn't it? That something's always going to happen.
Right. We spend a lot of time at the National Conflict Resolution Center on campus with students, teaching them some of these skills, but we really encourage parents to also spend some time talking with their kids about some of these things before they go back to school or in that first week of school.
Okay, so the tips. Let's get to the tips. Number 1, you say take time before you talk. How much time are we talking? This is a matter of thinking before you react or say something that you're going to regret.
That's exactly what it is. And so it's talking to kids about not just reacting in the moment, but kind of taking a step back, taking a step to the side, and really thinking about how they would want to respond to another student perhaps that has a different communication style than they do.
Okay, next you say listen. This is so important. Forget about kids. I mean, this is for everybody.
This is for everybody.
At work, pretty much daily life.
Right.
Listen. How can we listen better to others?
Well, I think one thing that's really important for kids especially to understand is that listening doesn't necessarily mean agreeing. So it doesn't mean that they have to acquiesce to everyone else's opinion or agree with somebody that they don't disagree with necessarily. But
where are you during the presidential campaign? Let's get that message out there to people. Listening doesn't necessarily mean agreeing.
Exactly. And you know what? Our hope truly is that if kids are learning this at young ages, they will be the next generation of leaders and able to hopefully exemplify some of these things.
I'm holding back from saying this is all easier said than done, but these are things we learn. And if we're not taught these things, we can never put them into action. Number 3, communicate so that they can hear the message. What does that mean? How do you know if they're hearing what you want them to hear? And I noticed we put listen. Hearing is different a little bit, so explain that to me.
I think it's really important for kids to think strategically about how they want to communicate what their needs are. And so it's not just listening to the other person or taking a step back, but then thinking to that next step of what do I need from this situation and how am I going to say that in a way where the other person is truly going to be able to hear me.
At what age can we expect children to understand this and to implement these tips? I mean, obviously you deliver the message to different grade levels.
Absolutely.
And the words you use, but how do we expect the kids to actually implement this and to recognize when there's a problem happening in the moment?
I think it's really surprising how young kids can be when they can start to do these things. Sometimes it starts even before schools with siblings, as they're just trying to even work with their siblings over sharing resources and toys. Okay,
you say number 4, communicate your needs. This is important.
This is important.
You have to tell people that you can't expect people to read your mind.
Right, exactly. And for, I think for a lot of us, this isn't just for kids, but we feel like our needs are, you know, I'm angry. I want to not be angry anymore. I want this to happen. But it's really going deeper to what do I need from this situation? And then again, going back to how do I communicate that so that the others around me could hear it.
Okay, lastly, you say de-escalate. Oh, this might be the most important one.
Yes.
Because sometimes you're faced with people who, for talking like the kids talk, maybe people aren't hip to what we're talking about here, right? So then it's up to you, if you have these skills, to de-escalate.
Right.
How do you do that?
So de-escalating the situation is really something that I encourage parents to do at home so they can exemplify it to their children as well. But that's something where we want kids to be able to look at the other person and the language that they're using, not use language that's going to make the conflict situation worse, but try to use language that does take a step to the side and allows for the other person to feel like they're not being attacked right back, even if they started it. And that's kind of a hard part, but being able to make that other person feel in a safer place so that then you can continue the conversation.
And all the talk of bullying and fighting and everything else when school comes around, a lot of the school district and teachers and principals and superintendents, they're inviting you guys in to kind of teach these things because that's become an important part of the teaching process is this kind of stuff, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, and you know, at National Conflict Resolution Center, we work a lot with students on the reactive side, so once a conflict has occurred, but also really on the preventative side. So working with students ahead of time so that they have some of these skills so that hopefully, you know, cases of actual bullying are decreased and not happening as often.
So if you'd like to get in touch with these good folks and get that message out, because again, this could work in the workplace, it could work at schools, in your home. They're all good life lessons
They
overall.
are.
All the information is on fox5sandiego.com. Just click the Scene On tab. Ashley, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And congratulations.
Thank you so much.
I asked first, Heather, so it's okay.